You say that people should be assessing what has been achieved during the first 100 days. What do you see as the main achievements?
Well, first of all, of course, the restoration of our freedoms. And this is most important, especially when you think a few months back that we were probably stuck with Marcos, the dictator. So first and foremost, the return of our freedoms and the return of press freedom, of course. And we have also released 500 political prisoners. And now what we are aiming for is seeking our economic freedom.
Speaking of press freedom, you're currently coming in for a lot of criticism in the press, particularly here in Manila. Do you think perhaps that the Filipino people have been too impatient?
I think so, but at the same time, I cannot blame them because after 14 years of Mr. Marcos's dictatorial rule, people were just hoping and expecting so much. But at the same time, I always remind them that I never promise miracles. And I always say that because Mr. Marcos has left our country in such an economic crisis, that it will need the help of all Filipinos to finally tackle these problems.
But do you believe that the Filipinos in the wake of Mr. Marcos are burying their differences, or are they continuing to fight amongst themselves? And in fact, of course, we see them on the streets regularly. This must concern you.
Well, we do have Marcos's loyalists. They don't really worry me in the sense that there is no central figure yet. I mean, of course, they think in terms of Mr. Marcos, but fortunately, he is thousands of miles away. But I am worried about, the insurgency problem, and also because they are waiting for a program of rehabilitation, but because I am presently burdened by a huge debt, we are not able to push through with all of these programs of rehabilitation. But we have already decided that lands sequestered by the government or foreclosed by the government will be leased to landless people, especially in the poorest areas.
You've said that you cannot wait forever to find a negotiated settlement to the insurgency problem. Is that a veiled threat that if there isn't quick progress, there might be some sort of military crackdown?
Well, you see, we have been waiting for a response from the national leadership, but so far we have not gotten any. And in fact, some were telling me that perhaps the leadership is probably divided now. I really am not sure about that, but this is the report given back to me, that maybe the delay is caused not so much for not wanting to negotiate with us, but perhaps there is a divided leadership at the moment.
But would you issue a warning to them that they must get their own house in order, that they must agree for a settlement with you, or you will have to act?
What is very clear, and I have said this all along, that we offer them peace, but if they will not accept peace but instead fight the government, then we will have to meet force with force.
To be in the cabinet, no? So I presume in the decision-making process, you've had a good close look. The perception of a lot of people is the president makes mistakes because her advisors give her wrong advice. Ngayon, why are you not blaming her advisors? Why are you blaming her?
Some people say that a president is only as good as her advisors. That is assuming that she has no brain of her own or that she is completely incompetent. I would say that if a president is a good president, he would at least have the ability to choose good advisors. And that is an essential requisite of a good president, to surround himself or herself with good advisors.
Okay. Today, the cabinet had a meeting in Malacanang. They spent the whole meeting on the issue of graft and corruption. Apparently, the administration feels that something has to be done. This is part of what you raised as a valid issue. Now, I don't want to call them propagandists, but friends of the administration say that there is corruption, but it is not at the top. It is at the bottom. Response.
I don't agree with that. I think that is palabas. I think this is public knowledge, that graft and corruption is one of the greatest failures of this administration. This administration, and I was present when Cory Aquino made that promise to the people that aalisin daw kapag siya inihalal ng bayan, hindi lamang ang gambling casinos, titigil daw niya ang graft and corruption. But many people believe that the graft and corruption during the first 2 years of this Aquino administration matches the last years of the past regime.
When you were in the cabinet, we're going to talk insurgency in a few minutes. When you were in the cabinet, were you aware of any counterinsurgency program being implemented by the administration?
None, and that's the reason I resigned as Foreign Secretary. I wanted an all-out, comprehensive anti-insurgency policy, and I was fighting for that. And when President Aquino ignored my importunings to have such a policy, I resigned. That was after visiting all the military camps. And a good example of that is Quezon. And the best evidence, or Exhibit A of that, of how bad the peace and order situation is. And it's Governor, one of your guests tonight, Governor Eddie Rodriguez, who was kidnapped at the height of the campaign. So at the time when I was about to proclaim, he was not there. So much so that I asked for a postponement of the elections in Quezon.
So you've mentioned that there's no counterinsurgency program in the administration.
None.
In your incumbency as Foreign Secretary, there was no foreign policy.
In my opinion, there was no direction.
Yet,
Not from Malacanang.
well, at least in one area, the administration claims they've succeeded, the economic recovery. There is an economic boom. They're on their way to improving.
I don't think there is economic recovery yet. I disagree with that.
Do you agree that steps have been taken to improve the economic picture?
Well, there have been steps taken, but it's not going into a definite direction. That is one of my, that was one of the things I mentioned in the letter.
Okay. Would you like to say a parting word?
Well, I'd like to just address a very brief appeal to our people, ang mga minamahal nating kababayan, lalo na yung mga nakikinig dyan sa kanilang mga bahay. Hindi ko na isasali yung mga nasa katungkulan, lalo na yung matataas ang katungkulan. At hindi ko din isasali yung mga nakikinabang sa administrasyon, itong current administration. Ang gusto sanang gawin ngayong gabi ay magtanong lamang ng tatlong tanong. Are you better off now than you were 30 months ago, before this administration took over? Second, do you feel safer now in your homes and in the streets than you felt 30 months ago? And third, do you feel that there is less graft and corruption now than there was during the last years of the previous regime? While your answer to these questions will decide whether my resignation was justified or not. While there is no, in my opinion, a response to the promises that have not been fulfilled by President Aquino. President Aquino behaves like an innocent bystander, hoping that the problems will simply solve themselves. I think it is time now to separate those who believe that the present or current administration is doing a wonderful job. They should join forces, fine. They should support President Aquino. But all those who believe that she is not doing a good job, that she is making a mess out of the present situation, should also join forces.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Bilin ko kay Mrs. Corazon Aquino ay pagpatuloy ang Bataan nuclear plant kung maaari. Sapagkat I told her this is the solutions in meeting a country's energy demands and decreasing dependence on imported oil. Ngunit ayaw niyang tanggapin ang aking mungkay. At maalala daw ng taong bayan sa Marcos habang andyan ang Bataan nuclear plant. Anong klaseng pag-iisip yan? Ayun ay pag-ihigante o na idamay sa buhay ng Pilipino. And yet, balang araw, makikita ninyo, 20 years from now, backstop ng Pilipinas.